morning. Oh my goodness. The power is back on. We are back in business. Oh my gosh. I am crazy, crazy excited to be here. Are you guys having a blast at CES so far? Yes? Awesome. Love the enthusiasm. So my name is Dixie Dixon. I am a fashion and commercial photographer. Photography for me has been a lifelong love affair. I can't even imagine doing something else. It's crazy how time flies. I have been doing this literally about 10 years now. And it's just been such a crazy adventure, traveling the world, doing different things. How many of you guys actually are photographers in the audience? Have you? Oh, awesome. I love to have fellow photographers. Well, my first big break in the industry was actually shooting for a TV show called Get Out. And it was a docu-reality travel show on HDNet. And basically, I got to spend 4 crazy, torturous years photographing swimsuit models in places like Ibiza, Spain, Miami, Puerto Rico, all over the world. Never would I have ever thought that I would be making a living shooting swimsuit models, but it was actually a really fun experience. And what I discovered in my style is that I love bringing out the personality of my subjects. I like getting to know the people that I'm shooting and to really bring out their soul in the images. And that's what I'm going to talk with you guys a lot today. Lately, I've been doing a lot of different kinds of work. So I not only shoot swimwear, I also shoot for different brands and ad agencies, denim companies like Slate Denim. This is a recent cover for Rangefinder magazine. So really and truly, my passion is not only bringing out the personality of my subjects, I also love bringing brands' visions to life. So I almost get to know the brand almost like a person. I like to get to know the fonts they use, the colors they use, so I can express that in the images, if that makes sense. So I do a lot of different lingerie type of work, jewelry companies, for instance. This was for a calendar for Magpul. This was for Virgin Pulse, one of Richard Branson's many companies. And believe it or not, the client actually wanted lens flare in every single image, which was kind of an interesting look. And it was inside. So I ended up adding Vaseline at the bottom of a filter and shooting through it. And it created that sort of hazy lens flare type of look. So I'm all about those different film tricks. This was another jewelry company called James Avery Jewelry, really fun client. And how many of you guys have actually heard of Poopery? Any of you? Yes. You use it. That's awesome. That's awesome. It's a really fun bath spray, and some parts of being a fashion photographer is bringing to life products that are interesting, like bath spray. So this model actually came into the casting, and she said, "You know what?" Told the client, "I want to be the next Pooh girl." And she was literally hired on the spot. So as a fashion photographer, you get to create some really fun types of images for different kinds of clients. Lately, I've been doing a lot of different work and moving more into motion. How many of you guys direct video or are in video? A few of you back there. I love this transition. It's such an interesting experience going from still images to video because you have so much more to think about, from the sound to the music that they use. There's a lot of different elements that you have to think about. So in the past couple of years, I've been directing TV commercials and doing different things. So this is my video reel I would love to show you guys. Kick the dust off your back and don't look back. 'Cause you were made for this. You can feel it inside your bones. You were made for this. And it's time you let the world know who you are, what you know, it's happening right now. So All right. That was a fun experience. Thank you, guys. So I want to get into some tips and tricks if you are a photographer that you can probably apply to any kind of work that you do, because fashion is really one of those things you can use it in different genres of photography. So I think the biggest thing about photography is authenticity. And it's interesting trying to discover your style as a photographer. It's an interesting battle. But the truth is your style isn't something you really have to go out and find. It already exists within you. So the better that you can get to know yourself as a person, you're going to be able to express your style as a photographer. So I'm looking at different things that I like, the different kinds of lighting that I like. For instance, I love this beautiful beauty lighting. I love making whoever I shoot look stunning in the images. And I love interesting poses and the sort of wet look kind of stuff. To create this image, we actually used Pam cooking spray on her skin to give it that beautiful sheen in the images. It did smell like cake, but it was a really great tool. So there's a lot of little tips and tricks to create authentic work. For instance, I love beautiful natural hair and makeup. A lot of photographers like the more avant-garde type of stuff, but I tend to be more drawn to that natural hair and makeup, which expresses kind of me as a person as well. This is one thing that I do before every single shoot that I do. Have you guys ever heard of a vision board? Any of you? Yes? Awesome. Yeah, I do one of these for every shoot, and I also do these for life goals. So basically, this helps everyone get on the same page during a shoot. So for instance, the top row was the sort of lighting that I was going for. The bottom row was the hair that I was after, and the middle row was the sort of makeup that I was going for. So basically, you can communicate with your team through images, because this is a very, very visual industry. So if you can communicate with images, it's a lot easier, because you could tell one hair and makeup artist, hey, I want natural makeup, but that can mean something completely different to a different makeup artist. So if that makes sense. This is a quick shot of my gear bag. It has not been updated, obviously, yet, because I am currently shooting primarily with the Nikon D80 camera and the D5, but I am obsessed with the D850. I only use prime lenses. I like to be my own walking zoom. I feel like it makes me more creative, and the prime lenses are crazy, ridiculously sharp. So, I mean, the D850, I call it the camera of totality. That's the tagline that I personally come up with. It's like shooting in beast mode. It's 45 megapixels. It shoots 4K video. I mean, anything and everything that you need is in this camera, and it blows me away, the detail that you can find in these files. The biggest problem with this camera is that it's going to make you want to reshoot everything you ever shot, because it's just so detailed and the files are so beautiful. This is a recent image that I created with the D850 using the 105 Nikkor portrait lens, which is one of my favorite lenses, the Nikkor 105. It's great for portraits and beauty, and it's really interesting. So this is the cropped in version. You can see how much detail is in these files. It is crazy to me how much you can see everything. So this was interesting because I ended up having her making it look like she was shooting through a keyhole, and that was sort of the vision for this particular image. So it's always creative, always fun. This is a quick time lapse of my dream team. That's who I call the people that I surround myself with. They are amazing folks. I work with makeup artists, producers, stylists, models. It's a big team of people in order to create the advertising images and different things that I'm creating. This was actually for a calendar. One of the big things about working with people is you really want to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and more creative than you, because it's going to make you more creative. It's going to make you more successful the more that you can surround yourself with great people. So I always love that. This is one shot from a shoot that I did for Kathy Ireland. So you can see the big kind of team that it makes to create these different images. This was the first shoot that I did with the Nikon D850. It was such an honor because I was one of the first photographers to get to shoot with this incredible camera. And so I got to bring my vision to life. It was very high fashion, what I wanted to create, very high fashion wardrobe. So we worked with a local designer. And believe it or not, this is a 50-foot train. It was crazy cool to shoot. And we ended up getting that cool movement by having the stylist, he was down on the floor and he would grab the bottom of the dress and lift it up and down, almost like a parachute, in order to get that movement in the frame. It's a really interesting way of doing it. So just different, and I always want yellow. That's my favorite color. That's also a part of authenticity, is using colors that you love in your photography. So I use that a lot. This was a swing at the location. It was just a really, really beautiful location we were able to shoot at. And that long lens, you can see how it just blurs out that background really nicely. And then sometimes you get those beautiful split moments where the model turns back at the camera. It's just like that beautiful moment that you capture. And that's really why I'm a photographer, is capturing those moments. And then sometimes, how many of you guys love dogs? I am always trying to add dogs to different shoots. And this was one of those opportunities where I've had this dress for years, and I wanted to capture an image either with a Dalmatian or a spotted Great Dane. We ended up getting the Great Dane, and he really added a lot to the image. I love adding different props and dogs and stuff to the images. Another beauty image, really beautiful. Fashion, anything goes. There's really no rules in fashion photography, and that's why I really love it, is that you can pretty much let your imagination run wild. It's such an amazing experience. So you can see the detail in these files is just incredible with that D850. So here's the behind-the-scenes shoots from this particular photo shoot, and then we'll get into more tips.
For the chance to prove myself, take the wheel, hit the gas, gonna raise some hell, gonna know my name, gonna hear me yell, nothing holding me back far as I can tell, can't stop me now, can't hold me down.
All right, so we've been doing a lot of behind-the-scenes content. It's such an interesting experience getting to do that. I've been doing those a few years now, and they're really amazing marketing tools. Video drives a lot of traffic to websites because video comes up on Google before anything else. So on literally every brand shoot that I'm doing, we're doing behind-the-scenes video as well. Keep in mind that I am just shooting the stills, and then I have an amazing cinematographer team that I work with that's shooting the video. So let's talk a little bit about lens selection. If you're new to photography, this is a really amazing tip if you want to create amazing beauty images. So keep in mind you never want to use a 35mm lens to create a headshot. The reason is it tends to distort the model's face, and it's just not as flattering. Like, this is a beautiful model. She looks great in any lens, but she looks a lot better when you use the 85 or an even longer lens like the 180 or the 200mm. So for instance, how many of you guys have a 70-200? Any of you? Yeah, so instead of shooting it at 70mm, you want to zoom all the way into 200mm and then take your headshot, and then it's going to create a much beautiful look because her features look a lot more beautiful, everything is not distorted, and it has this beautiful compression effect, which is a really nice tool. So for instance, this middle shot was done with a 200mm. Do you notice how it blurs out the background really nicely? That's that longer focal length lens. So use at least an 85 when shooting headshots, I would say. But I honestly love using 200mm when I have enough space to do it. You can see how different the 50mm looks. It doesn't blur out the background quite as much. So it's really kind of all depending on your style, but I've just found that creating amazing headshots works great with that long lens from the 85 to 200 range is a really great tool. The 105 is one of my favorite lenses. So let's talk a little bit about location. It's really important that your location in fashion kind of matches the vision. Ultimately, you want to decide on your vision first and then start picking on the location, the lighting, the models, who fits your vision. So this was for a menswear company. They wanted a really fun place. And this adds a lot of production value when you have a really great location. This was actually shot in Brazil, in Florianopolis. I'd actually never been there before. I had to Google it beforehand, but it was a really beautiful location for shooting fashion work. Lingerie work, I do a lot of that. How many of you guys love props? Any of you? I love adding props to images. I find them on eBay, on Etsy, on all these different websites, and I happened to find these amazing flamingos for this particular shot, and I ended up framing the model within the frame. So I'm always looking for different cool props. I use goggles a lot. All these kind of add to the style of the images, and it adds a lot of personality. And then connection is a really big part of what I do. It's an interesting experience working on set. How many of you guys actually like being photographed? Any of you? I see like a couple hands. Okay, I hate being photographed. And so the reason that I am so, and I guess I relate with the subject so much is that I really hate being photographed. So you really have to go out of your way to make your subject feel comfortable when you're photographing them. So I do a lot of things to get people comfortable. I always will research them beforehand. I like to get to know like what are their interests, what do they like, you know, what kind of sports do they play, what kind of music do they like, because this will allow me to create a common ground during the shoot and really get them relaxed. I always have music playing on set. It's amazing how that can stifle the mood if you don't have music. It just feels kind of weird because photography is really kind of like a dance. You have to get into it, and it's almost like being in the zone. Always have food on set. How many of you guys get hangry when you're hungry? I know I do. So you always want to have food and beverages. That's always a really important part of it. And I tend to shoot through moments. That's how I get these images that don't look posed. So I may overshoot something in order to get that one effortless shot that I'm looking for. So I will burn some digital files in order to get that shot that I'm looking for. So I tend to overshoot everything. And this is very kind of something that I've been crafting a long time is when you set someone up in a pose, they look really posy. But the more you talk to them, the more that you give them feedback as you're shooting, the more they sort of loosen up and kind of make the pose their own. So I really don't do ultimately a lot of posing in my work. I kind of let the models do their thing, and I kind of shoot until we get what we need. So it's an interesting experience. Lighting, oh my gosh. As Joe McNally said, lighting is the language of photography, right? Joe's right there. I think it's such a true statement. It is really the love language of photography, and you can really create your vision with lighting. And so you really have to determine what is your vision for the image. Is it dark and ominous? Is it more light and airy? Then you want to go in and choose your lighting. That's really how it works, is you want to figure out your vision first. This is kind of an interesting thing. It was really overcast this day, so I ended up adding a backlight to just add some more interest. And it's interesting lighting men. You can light them a lot more contrasty than you do women. And you can bring out that cool texture in their skin and stuff like that. So composition, I love using the rule of thirds, kind of framing your subjects in that certain part of the frame. Leaving negative space is really great for brands. And sometimes it works best if you just center your subject right in the very center of the frame. Sometimes that's the most beautiful composition for a particular location. It really kind of all depends on your eye and what you're looking for. Hair and makeup, really important tool. When I was first starting out, I would literally send my subjects to the MAC counter to get their makeup done before the shoot. This is before we had budgets for like a makeup artist and a stylist, things like that. So it worked out really well, so then it saved me a lot of time on retouching. As you know, retouching can take a long time. So hair and makeup, really important. Color is also another important part of photography, especially in fashion. You want the colors to look right. So I use a lot of complementary colors in my work. So for instance, orange and blue are complementary colors. So if you use those in your work, it's going to have a beautiful vibrancy. So using colors across from each other on the color wheel, like yellow and purple, orange and blue, all these different elements will really make your images stand out. And then movement. I'm going to show you guys here in a second how to add some movement to your images. Really fun, getting the model's hair really flowing really beautifully. And then sometimes you can have the model move themselves, which is really nice. And format. This is an interesting part of the Nikon D850 is you can shoot in different formats. So for instance, one of my favorite formats is actually shooting the square format. So you can literally go in camera and click square format, and you can create some beautiful square images. And it's really great for different social media tools. It's really great for portraits. And I actually created these black and whites in camera. So we're going to actually do that today. But before we do, this is a recent shoot that I did for Kathy Ireland. She is a supermodel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she was on 13 consecutive Sports Illustrated magazines. So she's done a lot of amazing work. Now she has this amazing business. And I actually met her at a dinner in California about a year ago. So I pitched the idea to her, and I said, I really want to photograph you. She hadn't been photographed in 20 years. It was such a crazy experience. And she literally signed on for the shoot, and I photographed her for 2 days. Nikon's 100th anniversary was this past year, and I asked her if she would pose with the Nikon camera, and she was game for all of it. Such an amazing person. I cannot tell you how humble and how amazing she was to work with. So we created some beautiful black and whites. We also did a cool Warhol-inspired image, and we ended up doing a gallery show together a few months ago, and so she signed on for the whole thing, and this was actually for the AIDS Foundation. So it was a big collaboration. This kind of goes to show you how personal work can turn into something amazing. So always be shooting personal work if you're a photographer. So this is the gallery show that we did in Fort Worth, and we'll go ahead and get set up to shoot.
'Cause I'm a human man, and you are a human girl. I'm a human man, and you are a human. Don't you know that I'm a human man, and you are a human girl? Let's get together, baby, feel like, 'cause when you're living out my body for work, you've got to stick together. You've got to stick together. You've got to stick together. You've got to stick together.
All right, so that was a really fun event. By the way, I just wrote a book about fashion lifestyle photography that came out this year. It's at Barnes & Nobles now and Amazon as well. So let's get our model up here, Ariana. She is awesome. We've actually been talking today and yesterday, and I was having her bring lots of heels. How are you? So good. One of the things that I do before a shoot, I always go in for the hug. I'm a big hugger. It really kind of sets the tone because people want to feel comfortable. I also do these at castings as well. I'll give people a big hug, and if they're one of those people that gives me an awkward side hug, I know they're going to be super hard to work with. But you went in for the hug. You're good. That was a test. I'm just kidding. That's awesome. So today we're going to shoot with the Nikon D850. And I'm going to set this camera up to do some beautiful in-camera black and whites. I'm going to set it in manual mode. I always shoot manual, but keep in mind, if you're just getting started in photography, try shooting aperture mode. So you don't have to worry about all the settings. You can set your aperture to like 3.5 and just create the images. But I shoot in manual. We're going to see what the light looks like. Trade show lighting is always an adventure. It's very bright and it's very busy in here. So that's why I'm going to change my settings to black and white. So I'm going to go into the menu and go to picture control and set that to black and white. So you can do this all in camera, which is amazing with the Nikons. So I'm going to set it to sepia toned and also the yellow filter. So this is all going to look really good in camera. And I'm going to bump up the contrast just a little bit and the clarity. So this is all within the menus within the Nikon D850. Keep in mind it's touchscreen, which is amazing because you can scroll through your images really quickly with the camera. And I'm also going to go and create a square picture. You know how I talked about earlier how you could change the format? So I'm going to create a square image in camera, which is really neat. So I'm going to go to image area. There we go. And choose image area, and you just go to the 1:1, which is a square image. Okay. So let's get our, Andrew, I'm going to borrow you. Thank you. He's going to be our lighting technician today. So I just have a basic constant light today, just because the lighting in here is kind of unflattering. But we're going to make the most of it. So if you could stand right over here. Yes. That's awesome. That is brilliant. And we're just going to kind of shine the light on her. And actually, could you come a little more? Yeah, there you go. So that's beautiful. So one thing with posing models is usually you don't want to have them like straight on, because it makes everyone look bigger. I mean, she's tiny, so she looks great either way. But with shooting most people look a little bit better shooting either side. So your angle was perfect. She already knows what to do, which is really helpful. So let's try one image and see what we get, and then we will go from there. One moment. Okay. That's gorgeous. Beautiful. Let's see what that looks like. Cool. So I think we can go a little bit more frontal with the lighting. Awesome. That's perfect. Gorgeous. That's awesome. Beautiful. And go ahead and put your head down a little bit, and then close your eyes. And then on 3, I want you to open them and just really talk to the camera. Awesome. And 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. That's super pretty. Nice. And then maybe try turning the other way. So when I'm shooting, I just kind of like to get into it. Sometimes it will take me an hour to kind of get started and really get in the zone. But she's an amazing model. She's really easy to work with. But it's a really cute black and white portrait. I really like that image of it. Yeah, turning that way is great. That shoulder shot's really pretty. That's nice. Gorgeous. Beautiful. That is perfect. And big smile. Awesome. That is gorgeous. Really cute. You look awesome, girl. So let's get artsy. I talked about adding movement. And so one of the things that I use all the time is a hair fan. However, usually I'm on location, so there's nothing, not a place to plug in anything. So a lot of times I will literally use a, you guys are gonna laugh. It's called a leaf blower. I know, I'm a little crazy. And so this is an amazing tool. The battery operated ones are not as powerful, which is good because you don't want to have too much wind, but a little bit of wind is good. It kind of makes you feel glamorous. I do feel glamorous right now. Maybe turn your body again, and maybe try putting all your hair in front. Yes, I want to see. So actually, could I get a volunteer to help me with this while I shoot? Anybody? Everyone's shy. I see one back there. Come help. That's awesome. Let me see how that's cute. Go ahead and face me. Pretty. So you can kind of see how it just adds a little bit of movement in the image. Perfect. That'll be great. So did you see what I just did? You can kind of just barely press this. So then I'm going to shoot while you do that. So as you can see, it takes a lot of people. I use this all the time in fashion. It's a really amazing tool. That is super pretty. Gorgeous. Nice. So it kind of just adds a little bit of movement. That's awesome. And then maybe try coming from this angle a little bit. So it's kind of just takes a little bit of massaging to get the right look. And then, yeah, that looks gorgeous. Beautiful. Pretty. That's awesome. And then maybe let's try one where it was kind of from the back, and then push your hair all the way back. And then you're going to actually get on this side and kind of blow the hair. So this is what basically I spend my days doing, is just getting that perfect shot with the perfect hair and different things like that. That looks super pretty. Actually, you could come this way. Yes. And just put a little bit of hair in front so she can kind of make it, yeah, kind of blow that. That's really pretty. Gorgeous, girl. Beautiful. You could be a little more powerful with it. Is it not fully charged? There you go. That's gorgeous. Beautiful. Nice. Awesome. And then go ahead and face me straight on and put all your hair in front. Yeah, there you go. That's great. Beautiful. That's perfect. Good job, girl. So it kind of just adds a little movement. That looks really nice. Cute. Really pretty. So you can kind of see how we create the images. And I wanted to try a silhouette. So maybe when you were creating a silhouette, thank you so much, by the way. I wanted to try one where the light is coming from behind and see how it looks. It may look really cool. It may not. We're going to find out. Yes, absolutely. And that looks good. And actually, I want to see your profile. Yes, that's awesome. All right, that looks gorgeous. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, let's see how it looks. We may have to adjust our settings. That looks great. Cute. We may need more power. I think a little bit more. Yes. Oh, we're maxed out. Cool. And then just get a little closer then. Yeah, that looks really pretty. Nice. That's gorgeous. Beautiful. Let's see how that looks. So let's expose it a little bit more. Maybe come straight from behind. Yeah. That looks great. Beautiful. Cute. And then let's do one really profile, so push all your hair back. Yeah, that's kind of a cool shot though. It's kind of fun to get artsy and just try different things and see how they work. I like a little lens flare. Beautiful. That looks great. Let me see a little light. That's awesome. Beautiful. Cool. So does everyone kind of understand what we're doing here? Just creating some cool images. We do one more. Beautiful. Cool. So yeah, that's I think that's all we were gonna try today. Thank you, Andrew, so much for your help. And guys, thank you so much for hanging out and watching, and to everyone that tuned into the live feed, so appreciate it. And I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your CES. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dixie. All right, in order to catch up on time, we're gonna roll into the next program within 4 minutes. We have Tamara Lackey here and the amazing Brooke, and we're gonna have another live shoot. We're gonna talk about how to photograph children. So hang on, in the next 5 minutes, within the next 4 minutes, we will have the next program. Thank you for your patience.